somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving
Yes, my Straight Talk family, you hear that theme song and you know it is time for me to say good night to the world. Time for me to say greetings to the world, rather. And good night to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and to the entire Caribbean region. And we are on the World Wide Web, so we reach and communicate with you in the Kittitian division and Caribbean diaspora all around the globe. Some of you are in Asia. There's some of you in Europe. There are some of you in Africa. Yes, the Prime Minister, has he come back from Africa? He is in Ghana. And there's some of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good afternoon, and I will also say good morning, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you find yourselves. And we do have first-timers. We do, most times, always, I should say, we do have first-timers, because there are many of you who share that link, and for that, we will always remain eternally grateful. But for the first-timers, may I inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues on Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. And on this program, we try as well to raise the level of national, regional, and international discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligation. And my name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And for the first time, as I trust and hope it won't be your last time. But let me inform you as well that as your host, I've always pledged to be or to remain an untiring advocate of truthfulness. As I'm always reminded of that, a favorite hymn of mine, that an excerpt goes something like this: we are called to be God's prophets, speaking for the truth and right, standing firm for godly justice, and bringing all those evil things to light. So let us seek the courage needed, our high calling, to fulfill, that we all may know the blessing of the doing of God's will. Having said that, my Straight Talk family, I must also remind you, and for the first time must inform you, that absolutely nothing is watered down on this program to make it more interesting, neither by omission nor by exaggeration. Straight Talk is not about sensationalism. We are not about creating excitement, especially if that will have to come at the expense of accuracy, because we lean on the facts, as it is my bounden duty to present at all times what I call the unvarnished truth, the plain truth, that is, especially when it comes to governance, transparency, accountability, and freedom of expression, freedom of information in St. Kitts and Nevis and wherever you are on the globe. Because this program joins us together with people across the Federation, and we're joined with people in the diaspora all around the world. Some we know, some we have met, some we do not know, and many we will never meet. And I suggest physically. We do meet spiritually each Monday and Thursday. And some of us will agree with the positions, most of us, I should say, will agree with the positions of truth that are always advanced on Straight Talk. And for some reason, some will disagree. And we anticipate that, we accept that, because we are a different people, and we entertain what I call a diversity of views. But let us agree, like my good friend called me on Saturday, about the geopolitical issues that are all around the world at this time. And we agreed to disagree. But do not sadden me, and she did not. She did not become disagreeable. So let's thank Almighty God nonetheless for helping us to understand, oh, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Let us therefore hope and pray for the day when we will all sing his praise together. So welcome again, my people, and thanks for those who share the link as you bring first-timers. Please continue to do so. And for the first-timers, I trust and hope it won't be your last time. And if you love it, go tell it over the mountain. Go tell it all around the world. If you don't find some way to come and tell me. And let me inform you as well, first timers, that Straight Talk is a participative program. By that I mean we include your calls, we include your emails, and if you're so minded calling, the numbers are on your monitors. The numbers are on your screens. If you are one who are afraid that your voice is heard, everybody checks your voice, and we understand that because we are in a society today that's full of vindictive people. They will cut you down just for talking the truth. So for you who like what I call the cloak of anonymity, we give you access via our email platform, and that address is also on your screens. So my Straight Talk family, what about those who have Alexa? You know, just say, Alexa, play Massive Vibes Radio. Lighting it up now. So my Straight Talk family, I say welcome again. And we say a special welcome first of all to our Straight Talk Young Brigade. That is an imperative. It is a must. I must recognize each time my young brigade. I trust you'll understand that by now. I have to hail young Dwayne, Tristan, Jasmine, Shema, Kevin, Rue, Jamal, Travis Travon, my grandson Neymar, and Saraya, his good friend, Elizabeth, and that special lady in St. Louis. I met a lady by the name of Carla. He asked me to call her, hail up sometime, just she's connected. And we normally start, I'm sure by now you would understand and know, with our observations in review. And that's the time when we highlight the current issues, do some reflection, and ask a few questions. And we find out, of course, what new we have learned as a people. I've been forgetting an observation for some time, and forgive me, I should have gone and get that evidence, the photos that's in relation to the Tabasco peppers. You've heard of the Tabasco peppers. They have not germinated. They're moving it to the northeastern side of the island. Over there in Borea, we understand. But sometime I'll get back to that. And after our observations review, we'll move to our thesis for tonight, which I've titled Shield of the Americas, Majority of CARICOM Excluded. Our first observation, I extend a happy belated International Women's Day. Though the day has passed, the message remains powerful. So happy belated Women's Day. That was yesterday. International Women's Day was celebrated yesterday under the theme Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls. And we celebrate with them the strength, resilience, and achievements of women everywhere, while continuing the call for equality and justice for all. Let us therefore continue working together to create spaces where women's voices are heard, their rights are protected, and their leadership is celebrated. So Straight Talk trusts that our women had a wonderful day yesterday. And as a matter of fact, every day is Women's Day. We must respect our women folk. And our second observation, we moved to Jamaica, where the government over there, the Andrew Holness government, has announced earlier this month that it would discontinue the program involving the Cuban medical missions. And you can glean from your screens. That's an article from the Jamaica Gleaner, dated March 7th, which was just 2 days ago. And the caption, Cuban Foreign Ministry, Jamaica's decision to end medical program disregarded history of fruitful, sustained collaboration. And this article appeared in the Jamaica Gleaner just a few days ago. But officials of the Holiness Administration in Jamaica said the decision came after both governments failed to agree on new terms for a replacement agreement after the previous one expired in February of 2023. The program had provided hundreds of doctors, nurses, engineers, and technicians to Jamaica's public health system. Approximately 277 Cuban medical professionals were still working in Jamaica at the time of the announcement. And they may continue, we are told, working until their current contracts come to an end. And Jamaica, the government has said it could hire all these workers individually under local labor laws rather than through a government-to-government agreement. And you can glean from your screens as well, if you see the reaction of the Cuban government. And there's a statement under pressure from the U.S. A statement from Cuba said Jamaica's action was a result of pressure from the United States, which is not concerned about the health needs of the Caribbean brothers. And it continues, and I quote, Cuba deeply regrets that in this way a history of fruitful and sustained collaboration is disregarded, one that has brought countless benefits to the Jamaican people who are now deprived of receiving the basic and specialized health services that Cuban collaborators provided, the Communist Islands Foreign Ministry stated. Well, that comes from the Cuban government, and who knows, a straight dog family, what to expect otherwise. And our third observation relates to a similar topic, but in a different jurisdiction. Coming home to St. Kitts and Nevis, and Terence Michael Drew, our Prime Minister, as we know by now, is visiting Ghana. Not certain if he returns. Everything he does in the dark. But Prime Minister Drew signed a memorandum of understanding for healthcare professionals and told the nation this.
And we have a scarcity of healthcare professionals. And we already have a number of Ghanaian nurses who have come to St. Kitts and Nevis. They started to work, I think, within the last 3 to 4 weeks. And I can say to you, without a doubt, that they are well received, they are well trained, the people have received them well, and I've been asked to ask His Excellency, the President, for more Ghanaian nurses.
But my straight dog family, many have remained ambivalent because many are happy that we can source overseas labor needed in that area of healthcare. But Straight Talk is pondering whether more investment is required in local nursing education. Another request is to strengthen local training program that should be, so more people can become nurses. Has the Ministry of Health considered expanding nursing programs at the Clarence Fitzroy Brand College, offering both associate and bachelor's nursing degrees, to attract more students? What about paying nurses more money, improving their working conditions, recognize promotions and skills properly? And of course, we have to update the nursing laws and policies in the Federation, train and keep more local nurses. The goal must be to retain local nurses and strengthen the healthcare system so the Federation doesn't have to rely heavily on foreign nurses as it has been doing over the past 9 or 10 years. I may add. Straight Talk has learned that many local nurses feel overlooked. Some local nurses we spoke with feel that the government should fix problems for Kittitian and division nurses first. And their concerns include, as I said, low salaries, heavy workloads, lack of promotions or proper compensation, and poor, very poor working conditions for our local nurses. In past situations, when foreign nurses were recruited, some local nurses complained and still complain that foreign nurses are offered better contracts or benefits than locals. That's something we have to look into. So shouldn't government invest in retaining local nurses instead of importing all these workers? In the past, we had our local nurses. The issues I know in terms of the CFB, the Clarence Fitzroy Brand College, and since it has twinned with the University of the West Indies, there are issues that have arisen. And some nurses are not doing well under that arrangement. But some citizens believe bringing nurses from Ghana ought to be only a short-term fix. And they argue, and rightly so, the real issues are, yes, some local nurses leave for higher pay abroad. Don't have the data in terms of the numbers. But not enough local training or incentives is another real issue for nurses, and the burnout in the public healthcare system. And Straight Talk submits that without fixing these problems, critics say the country may keep needing foreign nurses, and we concur. But those are my observations in review for tonight. And I move right into my thesis, which I have titled, as mentioned earlier, Shield of the Americas, Majority of CARICOM Excluded. And my Straight Talk family, in an historic moment on Saturday, 7th March 2026, U.S. President Donald Trump convened what is dubbed Shield of the Americas Summit that brought together some 12 regional leaders, my Straight Talk family. And these leaders you can glean from your screens as well, have come from Latin America, Latin and Central America, or Central America and South America, but there were only 2 from CARICOM. If you look at your right-hand corner, you see the list of countries that were represented. They are starting in the front row with Kamla Besessa of Trinidad and Tobago. And the list goes on, my Straight Talk family. But the president welcomed these leaders.
This morning, I'm honored to welcome distinguished heads of state from across the Western Hemisphere for the first Shield of the Americas Summit. And it's something very, very special. Marco's been working on it very hard, so have a lot of other people, because it's a very important place for us. It's nice to be home. It's very, very important. You know, we go all over the world, 9,000 miles away, 12,000 miles away. I said, how long is this flight? Sir, this flight is 19 hours. I said, oh, that's great. I said, now I have flights that last for 2 hours. I like that better. Much better. But on this historic day, we come together to announce a brand new military coalition to eradicate the criminal cartels plaguing our region. And you have a lot of it. One of the things when we were talking backstage, you were telling me the crime, the cartels, and we're knocking the hell out of them where we can. We're going to go heavier. You saw what we were doing with the boats coming in. The boats, there's not a lot of people coming in by boats anymore. We knocked down drugs coming in by sea. Drugs coming in through water is down 96%. We're trying to find out who the other 4% are, because I think they're the bravest people in the world. Either that or they don't watch television, right? They're either very brave or they're not watching. But we're calling this military partnership the America's Counter Cartel Coalition. And that's what you need. You have cartels. They seem to grow in this region unbelievably rapidly. It has to do with drugs largely. Earlier this week here in Miami, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who's right here. Pete, you are fantastic, doing a great job. We're proud of you. And representatives of 17 different nations formally entered this new alliance. The heart of our agreement is a commitment to using lethal military force to destroy the sinister cartels and terrorist networks once and for all. We'll get rid of them.
So yes, my Straight Talk family, the president in his speech called for regional cooperation to counter Chinese economic and political interests and establishing what he called a counter-cartel coalition. And that was 2 days before the summit, as he intimated. Some 17 countries from within the hemisphere attended the America's Counter-Cartel Conference on March 5. And the participated nations signed what is called the Joint Security Declaration, which you can also see on your screens, are committing these nations to coordinated military options, enhance intelligence sharing, and law enforcement efforts to combat transnational organized crime, especially those powerful drug cartels, as well as illegal immigration, money laundering, and perceived foreign interference in the Western Hemisphere. And that one comes up for debate each time, the foreign interference in the Western Hemisphere. And you can again glean from your screens the countries that have signed this joint venture or joint security declaration, including the Bahamas, Jamaica as well, Belize, from the CARICOM region, Trinidad and Tobago certainly, and Guyana. I think there's one other Caribbean country. Yes, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as well had signed this joint declaration, as you can see from your monitors, my Straight Talk family. But my Straight Talk family, we presently stand at a moment of extraordinary consequence for our region. The geopolitical landscape of the Western Hemisphere is shifting before our eyes. The United States has taken decisive action to assert its strategic dominance in the hemisphere, what some observers are already calling a modern reinterpretation of the Monroe Doctrine, and Pete Hegseth referred to it as the Monroe Doctrine. And the recent U.S. military operation that captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in January 2026 marked an historic escalation of American power in the region, part of an effort tied to anti-narcotics operations and border or broader strategic security goals. And all eyes now, my Straight Talk family, all eyes are on Cuba. All eyes are on Cuba. And our Prime Minister, Drew, was trained in Cuba. And as CARICOM chairman, our current CARICOM chairman, he decided to provide full disclosure, to use his words.
My visit here on another level is really coming back home.
I've got that wrong. But he provided a full disclosure, my Straight Talk family. Forgive me for that error. But my Straight Talk family, I want to make a point at this juncture. To it, there is the reality of geography and the reality of power. I repeat that. There is the reality of geography and the reality of power. And many have questioned the hegemony of the U.S., the position of being the strongest and most powerful nation on earth, and therefore quite able to control others. The Caribbean sits directly within the strategic environment of the United States, and geography matters in international politics. I said this before, and it bears repeating, that since 1823, over a century ago, over 2 centuries ago, let's get that right, the United States has maintained that external powers should not, underline that, should not establish military or strategic footholds in the Western Hemisphere through the Monroe Doctrine. And what is being described today as a Trump corollary or the Monroe Doctrine is essentially a more forceful enforcement of that long-standing principle that's over 200 years old. And under such a posture, Washington prioritizes security control of the hemisphere, elimination of narcotics networks, limiting influence from rival powers, and strengthening alliances with states seen as reliable partners. Because of this, Caribbean states cannot escape the geopolitical gravity of the United States, and no external relationship, including Africa, can replace that reality. We're talking straight as usual. Closer ties with Africa are not inherently misguided. They are not. In fact, engagement with the African continent offers several advantages. CARICOM states have strong historical and cultural connections with Africa, and institutions such as the African Union provide opportunities for trade diversification, cultural and educational exchange, diplomatic cooperation in international fora, and the support on global issues such as reparations and climate justice. Countries like Ghana have actively sought deeper ties with Caribbean nations based on shared history and diaspora connections. However, and here's the question. Listen to the question carefully. Can Africa realistically provide the security umbrella, the investment scale, or geographic proximity that the United States does for Caribbean economies? And that must be a fair question. We criticize America, and that's our entitlement. But ask yourself the question, where do our tourists come from here in St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean, the wider Caribbean? We boast American Airlines, JetBlue, Delta, and the hundreds of thousands of cruise ship passengers that land here in St. Kitts. At one period, we had over 1 million cruise passengers. Where do they come from? Ask yourselves the question, where do the majority of these passengers come from? The lines are open. Tell me. Our Eastern Caribbean dollar is tied since the 1970s to the US dollar. Our food imported, where does it come from? Tropical, CGM, Midnight Coast, they bring food from the US every week. But Kamla, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Pesod-Bissessar, that's the right name. She warned us that we all have different pathways to walk, but our destination and our goal, our aim is the same.
We all have different pathways to walk, but our destination, our goal, our aim is the same. It's for a better quality of life for the people in our country and for the whole of the region.
Do you agree, my Straight Dog family? It sounds a little bit at variance, doesn't it? We have our different pathways to walk, but our destination, our goal, our aim is the same. But as a people of the Caribbean, today we stand at a critical juncture in our regional history. We have always believed that our collective strength lies in unity, that the Caribbean community, CARICOM, should act as one voice, one shield, defending the interests of all of our people. Yet today, we are confronted with a stark reality in a major security initiative known as the Shield of the Americas. But the majority of CARICOM nations have been excluded. Even more troubling is that our own CARICOM chairman and Prime Minister Terence Michael Drew is physically absent, or was physically absent from the discussions that shape the future of our region. While critical security matters unfolded at Doral, Terence Michael Drew went back home to Africa to visit his aunt.
As I drove through Ghana, I couldn't tell the difference as whether I was in St. Kitts and Nevis or I was in Ghana. It's profound. It's revealing. You have to experience it to know it. Each person I see look like somebody I know. Yes. Last year I was relating to Mr. President, of course, that I had the opportunity to meet the deputy or the vice president in Addis when we had the first in-person meeting between the AU and CARICOM. I was the chair from the CARICOM side, and His Excellency President from Angola was the chair from the African side. And I met a lady, a distinguished lady, and inquired who she was, because she looked so much like my aunt. And as I approached her, she said, you know, she was the vice president of Ghana. So I'm really thinking now that my family might have come from here. But on another level.
But my Straight Talk family, while critical security matters unfolded at Doral in Florida, our Prime Minister went back home to Africa. But while these critical matters were unfolding, Terence Michael Drew was engaged in tree planting, my Straight Talk family, planting a tree. While noble in principle, we must ask ourselves, is this the moment for symbolic gestures when tangible security threats and international exclusions demand immediate attention? My Straight Talk family, Terence Michael Drew hosted the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio at CARICOM 50, recall, right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And 1 week later, he cannot make the cut to be invited to Mar-a-Lago for this very important conference and summit. Many have concluded that it has to be a question of trust or lack thereof, lack of trust in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. And this, no doubt, dates back long before Drew's time. It dates back 13 years ago, since we've been dealing with these Iranians. Remember this, my Straight Talk family? How many of us remember this?
During its meeting on Monday, the 7th of January 2013, ministers, having duly considered the content of a memorandum dated January 4th, 2013, approved the appointment of Mr. Ali Zia Mohadam, a national of Iran, who had formerly acquired citizenship of St. Kitts and Nevis through the investment program. Mr. Mohadam was issued with a diplomatic passport. He, on his travels to Canada, presented such passport to the authorities there. The authorities sought to confirm his role, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed to Canada the details of Mr. Mohadam's appointment and the specifics of his remit.
And my Straight Talk family, I submit, or Straight Talk submits, that it has to be a question of trust or lack thereof trust. How could the United States trust St. Kitts and Nevis, a country that has sold thousands of passports to Chinese, to Russians, and, I dare say, Iranians? How could the U.S. trust St. Kitts and Nevis, a country whose government facilitates criminals, Iranians in particular, to hide accounts or wash money, yes, launder money through its offshore system, my Straight Talk family? And that's what the Daily Mail revealed, my Straight Talk family. The Daily Mail revealed this. The Daily Mail revealed this. And very interesting, the ear, it says, the ear to the Ayatollah. As a matter of fact, we understand he's already been approved sometime today. But you see what the Daily Mail told us, my Straight Talk family? That secret global property empire of Iranian Ayatollahs here, including mansions on London's billionaires row and Beverly Hills of Dubai. And the name. Look at the name yourself. Read that name for yourself, my Straight Dog family. What does that name say? Look at where the network goes with the money laundering. The money laundering network includes St. Kitts and Nevis. We don't provide you any speculation. We provide you the facts. And the Daily Mail is a long-standing journal from England. Reliable information. And the name Mujtaba Khamenei, who replaced his father who was killed as the new head or new supreme leader. That's him in your picture there, my Straight Dog family. Laundering the money through St. Kitts and Nevis. You're not fabricating. We provide you the facts. Mujtaba Khamenei, 56, a mid-ranking cleric, was elected to replace his father as the country's next supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran by the decision-making council, despite lacking the senior religious credentials. But my Straight Dog family, that is not all. That is not all. Because the Financial Times as well. The Financial Times reported another Iranian, my Straight Dog family, with your monitors, Ali Ansari, an Iranian tycoon, is under sanctions in the United Kingdom for financing the Islamic Revolutionary Corps in Iran through a complex web of offshore companies spanning from Nevis to Luxembourg, Germany, and Spain. Look at where it started. My Straight Dog family. Smart Global, formerly Ziba Leisure, registered in St. Kitts and Nevis, an offshore company in Charlestown. The information we have and have confirmed. And look at the network. Look at the network, my Straight Dog family. Moves from Nevis to Germany, to Frankfurt, Germany, Luxembourg, also to other parts of Germany and Spain. And we asked the question, and this question is to Premier Mark Brantley. Is the NIA compromise, Premier Brantley? What is the level of due diligence applied in Nevis? Why all these companies are now being highlighted? Iranians, all Iranians. Mark Brantley, Straight Talk, asks this question. Answer it as soon as possible, ASAP. Is the NIA compromise? What is the level of due diligence being applied in Nevis? My Straight Talk family, you see why Terrence Michael Drew was obviously not invited? Because the Americans know something or some things that we surely do not know. After all was said, my Straight Talk family, and done, the picture ups and the niceties, the picture ups and the niceties meant absolutely nothing. Picture ups with Marco Rubio. So why didn't Marco Rubio invite that gentleman to his left, the CARICOM chair? They know something that we don't know. But my Straight Talk family, we occupy ourselves by focusing on the messenger and not on the message. We say all sorts of things about the President of the United States. But really, it is not about the President. It is about the mission. And political advisor Stephen Miller, serving as White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor since 2025, summed up the mission with much clarity. And Miller was speaking at America's Counter-Cartel Conference, and Miller said this quite clear.
We are not going to cede an inch of territory in this hemisphere to our enemies or our adversaries. Our national security, our homeland security, the safety and well-being of our people begins at home, begins in our neighborhood, begins in our home region. And for too long, we have allowed foreign enemies, foreign adversaries, and enemy terrorist organizations to control territory and spaces in this hemisphere where they can project power, project threats, and directly threaten the lives of your citizens and our citizens. And so under the leadership of President Trump, we are using hard power, military power, lethal force to protect and defend the American homeland. Not a single one of your nations should tolerate the existence of a single square mile of territory that is under the control of any entity other than the sovereign governments of your country. The idea that we would have in this hemisphere area that are under the physical control of foreign terrorist organizations, paramilitary organizations, is completely unacceptable.
Unacceptable, my Straight Talk family. And Miller was speaking, like I said, at America's Counter-Cartel Conference. But interestingly, this is what Marco Rubio said about those who attended the conference and the summit. Marco Rubio was very clear when he said this.
Mr. President, thank you for making this region a priority. We've had successive American presidents say that the Western Hemisphere is going to be a priority, and they never do it. And the President has made it a personal priority. He's also a president of action. It's why I believe he will go down as the most historic figure, one of the most historic figures in American history, and certainly of the last 100 years, because of what he has been able to do and is doing right now with the Western Hemisphere. Thank you for your bold leadership. It's an honor to be able to serve in your administration. And, Mr. President, 2 points I want to make. The first is we have a lot of allies around the world. And we are grateful for our allies. And the countries represented here today, all 12 of the leaders here, are allies. But they're more than allies. They're friends. At a time when we have learned that oftentimes an ally, when you need them, maybe may not be there for you. These are countries that have been there for us, and these are leaders that are not just allies, they are friends. And they are always willing to work and cooperate with the United States. And we're grateful to you.
Not just allies, they are friends. Former Prime Minister of the Netherlands and current NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who took office in 2024, is currently serving as the 14th Secretary General of NATO. He had high praises himself for Trump. And Ruth said this.
My relationship with the president, hey, listen, if somebody is doing good stuff, and President Trump is doing a lot of good stuff, I believe. I know I'm irritating a lot of you again, but I think so. Because, as I said also in Davos, the 2% reached by all NATO countries now at the end of 2025 would never, ever, ever have happened without Trump. Do you really think that Spain and Italy and Belgium and Canada would have decided to move from 1.5 to 2%? Italy spending 10 billion more now on defense at the beginning of the year without President Trump? No way, it would not have happened. And do you really think that in The Hague we would have come to the 5% commitment without President Trump? No way. So when President Trump is doing good stuff, I will praise him. And I don't mind him publishing text messages. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. We can't. We need each other. And why do we need each other? I tell you. First of all, because also the US needs NATO. For the US to stay safe, and by the way, Arctic region is evidence here, they need a secure Arctic, they need a secure Euro-Atlantic, and they also need a secure Europe. So the US has every interest in NATO as much as Canada and the European NATO allies. But for Europe, if you really want to go it alone, and those of you who are planning for that, forget that you can ever get there with 5%. It will be 10%. You have to build up your own nuclear capability. That costs billions and billions of euros. You will lose then, in that scenario, you would lose the ultimate guarantor of our freedom, which is the US nuclear umbrella. Good luck.
Good luck, he said, to those who criticize. The NATO Secretary General was clear in making the point that the European Union cannot, underline, cannot defend itself without the United States. The US nuclear umbrella is critical for the security of NATO, as it is the ultimate guarantor of Europe's freedom. But the US also needs NATO to stay safe, as they need a secure Arctic region. You remember Trump wanted to annex, Greenland? Well, my friends, history teaches us that small states survive not by ignoring power, but by understanding it. The Caribbean community, CARICOM, cannot afford strategic confusion at a time when the Western Hemisphere is redefining its political and security architecture. So we must ask ourselves difficult questions. What is the role of CARICOM in the evolving hemispheric order? Can neutrality remain credible when major powers demand clarity? And most importantly, will the Caribbean shape its own future, or will others shape it for us? The principle of being friends of all and satellites of none is noble, but principles must also be matched by strategy. If CARICOM remains silent while the hemisphere reorganizes itself, we risk becoming spectators in decisions that directly affect our security, our economies, and our sovereignty. The Caribbean must therefore find its voice. It must speak clearly, act strategically, and engage seriously with the geopolitical realities of our time. Because the future of this region will not be determined by silence. It will be determined by leadership. Now we understand, my Stray Dog family, and we know we don't have good leadership in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have immature leadership. A CARICOM chairman who cannot lead from the front. But now we understand why he was snubbed by the Secretary of State. Couldn't make the cut to neither the conference nor the summit. And he's not only our Prime Minister, he's our Minister responsible with responsibility, I should say, for national security. But he cannot be trusted. The US cannot trust us. So now we understand why the US established a shield of the Americas and the majority of CARICOM leaders excluded. And that's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family, and I am not going to change it. I will entertain your calls and your emails as I'll open the lines momentarily. But before I do so, I always want to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let's ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of saying and or doing those things, let us, my Straight Talk family, strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 2 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour, and the time, the clock's up, gone back, so we are on the same time, North America, aren't we? Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Good night, Mr. Lyman.
Good night, good night. I should expect this call each time. My quotationist, am I correct?
This world of ours.
This world of ours. Yep.
Must avoid becoming a community
Yeah.
of dreadful fear and hate.
Mm-hmm.
And be instead a proud confederation of mutual
Yep.
trust and respect.
Trust and respect. Mm-hmm.
I repeat, this world of ours must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate, and be instead a proud confederation of mutual trust and respect. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening as well, my Straight Talk family. From across the Narrows, always provide your thought-provoking and very important quotations from across the Narrows. And this one no different. This world of ours must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate, and be instead a proud confederation of mutual trust and respect. Let's go back to the lines and thank this caller for holding. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Straight Talk.
Mr. Abracadabra. I recognize
Abracadabra. How are you, my brother?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
What can I say, man? So far, so good. It's going good. It looks good. It eats good. It tastes good. And all is good.
All is good.
And you say you are peaceful, so that make it better.
Yes.
I'm in my bed there, lie down, and they turn back the time, and it's the best thing could have ever happened. Today, I'm just saying, look at it, it's minutes to 3 already now, let me do what I got to do. And that time was up, and we come home, and I said, look, I don't know why these people don't do what they have to do and take care of this thing. Every president come, they're going to change it, This one say they're going to do, I don't know if they're going to do it. Anyway, because it's a thing, Mr. Strater. Man, this thing is trouble. You have to set back your clock and everything. You know, before time they used to leave the phone. You could you have to set your time on your phone. All of a sudden now they change that themselves, so computer take over. Otherwise you have to go in your cell phone, go change your cell phone time. You back be here. So all of that is good. So Mr. Strater, how is life?
Life is peaceful, my brother, in spite of everything else. What about you?
It's good. Let me just say good evening to my wonderful people. Ellis in Cairn, and my brother from another brother, my brother Alvin and his sons there in Bellevue. Man, and my friend died here again in Bellevue. We go to school together. I remember this guy. Man, this guy was a nice young guy coming up. And all of a sudden, this guy, I don't know why people live that way, but he's gone, named Booby. So Booby, boy, I pray and trust that I would see you again when I come down. But anyway, he is out. So God bless the time that I'll be and you get together there for the short time when I see you. Mr. Strater, how is my lovely niece?
Oh, she's wonderful. She's wonderful.
Good. Just tell her to just do what she has to do.
Yes.
And Texas Queen, how are you? Mr. Strater, I'm in my bed and I didn't want to get up, but I get up because I hear you said something that I'm very interested in. What happened to my Tabasco pepper seed?
You know, I went to take a photo of the proposed area they're going to plant, but it was a little too dark, so I listen. I want to get a clearer picture. So
you said you went to take a picture.
I went to take a photo myself as an investigative reporter, but it was a little dark. The sun went down pretty fast on me that evening. But I promise you, by Thursday, I promise you'll have a picture.
So tell me something. So what happened to them in Le Valley?
We want to ask the Minister of Agriculture, Samal, and Terence Michael Drew, as they are very tight-lipped on it. We don't know. We can't find them. Perhaps the seeds were germinated.
That's what I was more interested in, because if you plant something over a year ago, it's got to be a coconut tree. Because that's the only thing, take that land you plant it and you go back, go look for it, it's steady and if it go high up, before grass kill it, it will kill grass, but if you eat grass, it's going to kill it.
Okay.
So I thought that's what you were telling me, but when I listened good and I said, what are you saying, boy? Or something is, I said, no, let me get out my bed to find out what's really going on with my Tabasco peppers.
Yeah, they've moved the area. Like they moved from Western Fries and going, I think it's called Borea. Borea, that's across from the university down there. That's Borea Long Part, right? Is it?
Yes, Borea Long Part. Yeah. As long as you say Borea Long Part, it's Borea Long Part.
yes. But
I have no idea, Mr. Strater. What I wanted to do too, I just barely get a little glimpse of what you were saying about St. Vincent and Mr. Nevis, his citizenship thing. So I wanted to talk some more about it, because I didn't get to hear what somebody cut me off and everything. But I wanted to take it time and investigate, because he come like he said that he has a dual citizenship. And if he know he is prime minister and he know what's going on there, he should do what he has to do. But our prime minister also not get picked to come at the summit, because our prime minister not in the fight. Understand? All our prime minister was interested in was his friends in Cuba. He wasn't interested in nobody else. And since Kamala was a big shot pushing it, they're going to give Kamala the invitation. You see how easy it is? If he had just said, well, look, the Cuban people are suffering, but he was just saying his friends. So that's really what happened. Because if you're going to invite the easy bass, no, easy bass, and invite you one underneath, something all right. But Mr. Stratak, I think I said enough there. Just do what you got to do. It's a blessing to hear from you and a nice court lady. Just do what you got to do, your man. You're a wonderful lady. Next time I drop into that thing, I'm going to make sure I see you, because I'm not leaving there unless I get to see you. Mr. Stratak, see you when I see you. Abracadabra, see you soon.
See you soon, my brother. Abracadabra. See you, my brother. See you. Have a good rest of your evening. And we gonna go straight back to the lines, shall we? Okay, I've lost that caller, have I? I think I've lost that caller. But the lines are open, my Straight Talk family. The numbers are on your screens, and we are taking your calls. It's 11 past the 9 o'clock hour. We go straight back to the lines and say, caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Thank you, Brother Patches. Good night to all the listeners.
Good night.
All around the world. As Straight Talk always, the very worldwide informative program to all of us. Question, Patches. How many times I uttered, because of our leadership or the leadership of a country, the people will or shall perish. Many, many times. Now, if we look at the conference that was held 2 days ago in Florida with many countries, out of 2 countries in our region close to us, Guyana and Trinidad. Where are the rest? Now, I must stick a pin there and said, the Monroe Doctrine or the Dunn Doctrine is necessary because we are in the West. America is in the West. We are all part of the Americas. Our food, our sustainable security lies in the West. China, Russia, North Korea has nothing to do with us. All these countries want to get up under America. America is a target to destruct and destroy. In spite of what America is being said, it makes sense to jump on the bandwagon because who control our trades? Just like you said, and I will reiterate, none of these people. If you want to say we import car from Japan, that's as far as we goes. But for those prime ministers and leaders of any other country, as long as they're in the West, they better wake up. Because if America don't trust us already because of several issues, money laundering, Iran, Russia. Remember what happened in Venezuela? You think any of these, if I will say, and I'm not sorry to say, pissy-kin, big mouth prime ministers feel like they're bad and bold? They are nothing to America. Like I said again, I will reiterate, I like the Monroe Doctrine, and sometimes we have to have a bigger brother. Because when we get a punch in our face, we can't do nothing about it. And once Big Brother is there for us, at least we are we have a sort of security. So all who ignoring and tracing a dream of impossibles and going out of the boundary, hey, I believe my tribe from Ghana. I love Ghanaian people. Or wherever in Africa, whether it's some one of those Ivory Coast or somewhere there. But it's shorter, as Trump said, it's shorter to travel 2 hours than 19 hours. And where our prime ministers go and other Caribbean leaders go, should they wish, they could wait long. That's why America and not even Europe trust us. Because it seems like our investment is chasing the wrong path of being proactive. And our proactive way right now is not giving us any kind of fruit. It is just destruction and trouble and shut down and can in a can. I will leave it there. To whom it may concern, I don't care. I am entitled to my opinion, and I've said it, and I'm not going to change it. Thank you for allowing me, Brother Patches.
Thank you very much, my brother. Just for the information of that caller who said it didn't follow the program in relation to that election petition in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, this information is self-explanatory.
Prime Minister, can I get a comment from you?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Wonderful day. Look at the sunshine. Go ahead. Look, we have a here.
Can you state your name, Council?
Yes, I'm Ram Logan, Senior Counsel from Trinidad and Tobago.
What can you tell us about the case management that you just did on the line?
Well, this is a rather interesting, if not amusing, experience. The mandate given to the newly elected Prime Minister is overwhelming, and this is an attempt by the petitioners to effect change otherwise than by the democratic process. The mandate is such that we are extremely confident that these election petitions will be dealt with swiftly and it will be given the due care and attention that they deserve. But as you can see from the Honorable Prime Minister and the Attorney General's faces, they don't look too worried or troubled by it.
Mr. Young, there are a number of judicial rulings on matters similar to that. The latest is the Denzel Douglas ruling in St. Kitts and Nevis. And all of those rulings spelled out clearly that dual citizenship is unconstitutional. Do you think that the judge, I don't want to preempt anything, but do you think that there might be a misunderstanding in some quarters on that?
The St. Vincent and Grenadines constitution has some similarities, but there are also certain differences. So it's important that this matter be determined for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There will be authorities from other jurisdictions that will be relied on by both sides. It's an extremely experienced judge ever before, so we're fortunate with that. And let's see how it goes. I am not going to preempt anything.
So yes, my Street Dog family, forgive me for digressing, but just to bring the Street Dog family up to date, that court case is slated for July 28th. That's it is alleged, or it is confirmed, that the current Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and some other minister or ministers in his cabinet do hold dual citizenship. As a matter of fact, he do hold a Canadian passport. And getting back to our focus for tonight, and we asked the question: do you believe that it is a question of trust why our Prime Minister did not make the cut to go to Mar-a-Lago? And that's a question. And I ask the question, how could the United States trust St. Kitts Nevis and some of the other, especially the OECS countries, that have sold thousands, underline thousands of passports to Chinese. They have sold thousands of passports to Russians and thousands of passports as well to Iranians. And my Street Dog family, that is a concern. How could the U.S. trust St. Kitts and Nevis, a country that facilitates criminals to hide accounts, wash money, yes, launder money through its offshore banking system? And we have provided that evidence. We have. That's an Iranian that laundered his money through St. Kitts and Nevis. Smart Global, formerly Ziba Leisure of St. Kitts and Nevis, with the offshore accounts in Nevis. What about as well the current leader of the Islamic Republic, the current leader of the Islamic Republic, the son of the Ayatollah who was killed? He is also accused of money laundering. Look at it, through St. Kitts and Nevis, my Street Dog family. But these are the issues that we face, and we have faced them frontally. Caller, I want to thank you for holding you alive. Hello, caller.
Mr. Patis.
Yes, yes, my lord. Yes, the Bible man, sir. The Bible man.
I have something to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I call you on the overseas line anytime?
Which overseas line? You mean for the program?
Yeah.
Well,
the reason for that, I can explain to you, Mr. Patrick, that the reason you asked you that. What happened to me? And that is the reason why you see me just say, blessed is the man that considereth the poor. In the time of trouble, the Lord shall deliver him.
That's true.
There's a company in St. Kitts. When you tap up your phone,
mm-hmm.
and they have package, and so you tap up your phone $100 for the package. Mr. Patrick, when the time come, and if the time can come, and the 6th or the 7th, and you pay 2 days before, Patrick, you do not get it. So my mind went up on you today. So to ask you, because I have to really, I got internet on my phone. And the reason why I do that, Mr. Patrick, because it's me one live. So the internet is going off and on. So I went and I pay $100 to get a straight call. So anything happened to me in my house, so I could call. And Patrick, I do not get it. And so when I cannot go to bathroom, Mr. Patrick, my foot then trouble me. So I glad when this thing come in. And I glad I could get the straight call, Mr. Patrick, to call you. But the situation is it. We are poor people. We get a letter and not vote. And listen, I can tell you something. When the Lord ready and God see us getting a letter not vote and ripping off, God can put in his hand So I asked you this question, Mr. Patrick. I explained to you, and I want to prolong, but I explained to you. Right now, I put on the $100, and I ain't get the package. So I had to put on $20 more to call you tonight. And so, Mr. Patrick, it is terrible. And as a Christian-minded man, when God see too much, then know what to do. Package, I am a decent young man, and I can tell you something. Me had to give God an account for every single day I live. And I have no time to play bubble with nobody. Okay. Because the day our reckoning time is coming. And so whatever we do to our fellow men, we have to give God an account. So me no worry about nothing. I said to myself, when I call in to Patrick tonight, I can ask him a question. Patrick, I feel it daily because I could call you and I could on Monday and Thursday, but it seemed like I ain't got no money for Thursday and for the rest because me ain't gonna take up my money when we have to eat every day. Okay. And put up on a phone with a package. And when you talk to them and they give you a lot of run around. And so, if you not hear me, that's the reason why I ain't got no money to put down no money on my phone.
Okay, Mr. Bibleman, I'll get. Yes, you can call a US number, but I have to be around because I use this just strictly for my program. But I'll get it. I'll get to you, okay? But thanks a lot for your call. I'll get to you.
Yeah, please.
I'll get to you, okay?
Please.
I will. Okay, I promise you that. Okay?
Please.
All right. Have a good night.
I'll check it out for me, please.
Yes. Have a good night. Right. I'll call.
Yes.
Okay. Cheers.
All right.
Okay. That's the Bible man. We didn't get a psalm tonight, but we understand why. Good night. Reads this email. Good morning. I got some of the most shocking news. Read this email. It has been said that it was in the news this morning that St. Kitts would be joining Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica with the 3-month valid US visa. If this is so, I want to see what Drew and his government do and how would they represent us. And I would like to know if this is so. So would they be still accepting the deportees? The US with Donald Trump seem to be the police of the world. We are giving Trump all the free hand to treat us as his doormat. Thanks for reads this email. And this other email reads, good night, Patches. Local nurses don't want to do their jobs. They are rude and disrespectful and talk to people like the pigs they are. The foreign nurses are more respectful, knows their job and carry it out very well with compassion, something Kittian nurses knows nothing about. I think having the foreign nurses as a standard to the hospital that was missing locally. I preferred the foreign nurses any day over the locals. Well, you are entitled to that view, but it tells us that our nurses perhaps need some training in etiquette, if that's what they call it. Caller, thank you for holding your live.
Yes, Brother Patches again. Last call, and I want to make this something of importance. I'm going to pertain this to Bible Man. Bible Man, I listen to you all the time. I'm on Straight Talk. Your words are very sound. That scripture that you always quote, blessed is the man who considereth the poor. I don't have to finish it.
Well, I
believe in that.
I get a little cautious, when you start to get at me callers. Where you going
No,
with this
I'm
one?
not getting that. It's a
Uh-huh.
positive way.
Yeah, but please,
It's a
I get a
positive
little,
way.
I get a little concerned when you do that. But
All right.
I hope
All
it's
right.
positive.
Allow me.
I hope it's positive.
It is positive.
Please, so lead the callers to me.
That quote is very important, and I honor that. And that wish is a wish for the whole of the Federation. And it shall be honored under my administration, should needs be. It's all up to the people. Every single thing. So, Bibleman, I heard your issue. And if I will get your number directly, you have patches endorsed, you with some top up, I shall do it too. So if you need the two, you could get the two. If you only need one, you will get the one. But I will like to give that contribution to you, Bibleman. Thank you very much. All I got to do is get your number. Patches, you could help him out with my number. I will tap him up straight from whether it's Lime or Digicel for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My Straight Talk family, you may have joined me belatedly, but I am obligated to inform you that tonight we are looking at our thesis, Shield of America, or Shield of the Americas, beg your pardon. Majority of CARICOM excluded. And I made the point earlier, for those who may have joined me late, that in an historic moment on Saturday last, the US President convened what he dubbed Shield of the Americas Summit. And just to inform you as well that 2 days before that, he convened a conference that deals with or dealt with the joint venture issue of the joint, what am I saying? The joint, let me get that right. Dealt with the joint security declaration. And you can glean from your monitors that other countries from the CARICOM region did attend this particular session on March the 5th. And this declaration was made to expand multilateral and bilateral cooperations to enhance security in the Western Hemisphere. To cooperate in the following areas: whole of governance efforts regarding border security, countering narcotic, terrorism, and trafficking, securing official infrastructure, and other areas of mutual, or to be mutually determined. So as a fine print, forgive me, my straight up family, I'm here squinting. to advance peace through strength, to address future threats to our mutual interests, and join a coalition to combat narco-terrorism and other shared threats to the Western Hemisphere. And this was signed in Doral, Florida, at a conference that ran from the 4th to the 5th of March last week in the English and Spanish language, both texts being equally authentic. The ministers of defense and security of their counterparts and heads of delegations participating to the American Counter-Cartel Conference reaffirmed their strong security and defense relationships based on sheer commitment to peace, sovereignty, and security in the Western Hemisphere. And you can see the signatories on the declaration. Prime Signatory, beg your pardon, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War of the United States. The Argentine Republic, Ministry of Defense. The Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Ministry of National Security. The Government of Belize, Ministry of Defense and National Security. The State of Bolivia, a plurinational state of Bolivia. The Republic of Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, that should be, the Republic of Ecuador, the Republic of El Salvador, the Republic of Guatemala, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the Republic of Honduras, Jamaica, the Republic of Panama, the Republic of Paraguay, the Republic of Peru, and the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So there are a few CARICOM nations that signed off on this joint security declaration, as you can glean from your monitors. But there was this summit 2 days after, on Saturday, and attended by a select few of some 12 nations, including 2 CARICOM nations, Trinidad and Tobago and the Republic of Guyana. The Cooperative Republic of Guyana, to be correct. And the president called for regional cooperation to counter Chinese economic and political interests and establishing what he called a counter-cartel coalition. And the participating nations, as I said, signed this joint security declaration committing my Street Dog family to coordinated military operations, enhanced intelligence, or enhanced intelligence sharing, that should be, and law enforcement efforts to combat transnational organized crime, especially powerful drug cartels as well as illegal migration, money laundering, and perceived foreign interference in the Western Hemisphere. So I submit again that presently we stand at a moment of extraordinary consequence for our region. The geopolitical landscape of the Western Hemisphere is shifting before our eyes. And the United States has taken decisive action to assert its strategic dominance in the hemisphere, and what some observers are already calling a modern reinterpretation of the Monroe Doctrine. And the recent U.S. military operation that captured Venezuela leader Nicolas Maduro in January 2026 marked an historic escalation of American power in the region, part of an effort tied to anti-narcotics operations and broader strategic security goals. And all eyes are now on Cuba. But my Straight Talk family, I made the point as well, and I'll repeat it at this juncture, to wit, there is the reality of geography and the reality of power. I'll repeat that. There is the reality of geography and there is the reality of power. And many have questioned the hegemony of the U.S., the position of being the strongest and most powerful nation on earth, and therefore quite able to control others. But lest we forget, the Caribbean, our Caribbean islands, sit directly within the strategic environment of the United States, and geography matters in international politics. So my Straight Talk family, the Monroe Doctrine, originally dating back to 1823. In that doctrine, the President Monroe of the United States maintained that external powers should not establish military or strategic footholds in the Western Hemisphere. And that was the crux of the Monroe Doctrine. And what is being described today as a Trump corollary or the Monroe Doctrine is essentially more forceful enforcement of that long-standing principle. And the U.S. have prepared to use the military and to use lethal force. And that we saw throughout the Caribbean, off St. Lucia, off St. Vincent, off Venezuela. And that is a position taken by the United States to rid the region of these narcotic traffickers, my Straight Talk family. And they have not apologized for that.
We are not going to cede an inch of territory in this hemisphere to our enemies or our adversaries. Our national security, our homeland security, the safety and well-being of our people begins at home, begins in our neighborhood, begins in our home region. And for too long, we have allowed foreign enemies, foreign adversaries, and enemy terrorist organizations to control territory and spaces in this hemisphere where they can project power, project threats, and directly threaten the lives of your citizens and our citizens. And so under the leadership of President Trump, we are using hard power, military power, lethal force to protect and defend the American homeland. Not a single one of your nations should tolerate the existence of a single square mile of territory that is under the control of any entity other than the sovereign governments of your country. The idea that we would have in this hemisphere area that are under the physical control of foreign terrorist organizations, paramilitary organizations, is completely unacceptable.
Unacceptable. And these countries, including a few from CARICOM, have signed on to that joint security declaration. Someone asked me today about the ship rider agreement. We have long passed the ship rider agreement. The U.S. has taken a position, and we better be guided by that position, my Straight Talk family. And that is the reality of the situation here in the Western Hemisphere. This email reads, Trump sent a message. These are the countries America trusts in the Western Hemisphere, not just allies, friends. The others know where they stand, reads this email. And Mark Rubio did in fact speak to friends and allies, my Straight Talk family. Mark Rubio, in fact, said this for the world to hear when he spoke at that summit.
Mr. President, thank you for making this region a priority. We've had successive American presidents say that the Western Hemisphere is going to be a priority, and they never do it. And the president has made it a personal priority. He's also a president of action. It's why I believe he will go down as the most historic figure, one of the most historic figures in American history, and certainly of the last 100 years, because of what he has been able to do and is doing right now with the Western Hemisphere. Thank you for your bold leadership. It's an honor to be able to serve in your administration. And, Mr. President, 2 points I want to make. The first is we have a lot of allies around the world, and we are grateful for our allies. And the countries represented here today, all 12 of the leaders here, are allies. But they're more than allies. They're friends. At a time when we have learned that oftentimes an ally, when you need them, maybe may not be there for you. These are countries that have been there for us, and these are leaders that are not just allies, they are friends. And they are always willing to work and cooperate with the United States, and we're grateful to them.
Yes, they're not just allies, they're friends. Let's go back to the lines and thank this caller for holding caller. You are live. It's 11 before the 10 o'clock hour. You're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Sir Livert.
Good evening, my lord. How art thou?
Not bad, and you?
I am peaceful. I am peaceful.
Yeah. I'm relying on your memory here. You were minister in 2018. I think. Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, I confirm, yes.
Yeah. And recently, I heard a news item pertaining to the Prime Minister's visit to Ghana, which says that he got an agreement with Ghana that they will give ordinary citizens passports visa-free access to Ghana, because the only visa-free access that our passports had were for official passports or diplomatic passports.
Yeah, that was.
I remember when Mark Brantley was Minister of Foreign Affairs in 2018, he came back from Ghana and spoke about his trip there, along with same thing you talk about, visiting some major complex there where slaves used to be stored before being shipped out to the Caribbean. But he mentioned that all our passports were entitled to visa-free access to Ghana, he didn't get up and say just two types of passports. He said, I think his Nevis passports. So who is fooling who here? Was it Mark Brantley fooling us? Or is it the Prime Minister now fooling us and giving the impression well, that he is doing something that was done before his time? Do you remember as a cabinet minister?
My brother, I can't recall, but I believe that the visa waiver was just for diplomatic passports. I stand corrected, but I believe I'm not doubting the Prime Minister at this time, although we know a lot about him and how he fabricates. But I vaguely recall the visa access was just for diplomats, as you mentioned, official passports, mostly diplomatic passports. That's what most of them do in the first instance, you know. That's nothing new, really.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize that is how it worked. Because when we hear that,
some don't really just go straight to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I always figured that when you have visa-free access to a new country, that I can go there without having to apply for a visa.
No, there's some. They normally start with the first tier with your diplomats and officials before they open it up to the entire population. That's nothing new. It's quite a few of them do that.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
Okay.
It's good to hear as usual. It's now 8 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour. And Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 until 10 p.m. But as we wind down tonight's programming, we also made the point that the new U.S. posture prioritizes security control of the hemisphere. But let's go back to the lines and get back to that caller. You're live. Hello, caller.
Hey, Patrick, how you doing, my man?
I am peaceful, my brother.
I just wanted to call in because I know you know, over the past months you've been hinting certain things, and I know that you were right on the spot. Okay. What the people that in the Caribbean, mostly all of them, are not looking at the mission. What they're looking at is President Trump. And Trump, like other presidents, he's not going to stand for what they are trying to do to America. He's standing up for America. I am not a supporter of Trump. I will not ever vote for them. But I was in position where many pieces of paper had to come across my desk. So which means I am telling you, I had this high clearance just as those guys actually has right now. What's going on in the Caribbean been going on for years. I spent my last 4 years in the Navy doing the same thing. That's what's going on. And at that time, Bush was the president. And it happens under all president. Okay? I spent my last 4 years going from island to island. Those ones what you just signed, those were the ones that we always went in, sat in port, and wait to be sent out by the planes them, because they are looking at actually those go fast boats, and then they will direct us when they are finished what they have on board, and we will go out and intercept them. Not all of them we can catch, because actually those go fast boats, they can move. However, sometimes we would have used the helicopter to keep up with them, and we'll shoot out the engines and so forth. Okay? So what's going on now? It's nothing new. Nothing new. Most of the premiers in the Caribbean don't know exactly what's going on, because they will not be invited to any place behind the curtains if they don't have a clearance. They must have high priority clearance. So the simple things that they think it's a high meeting is not, it does not come on the ear. Viewers don't see when they are high meetings. It's behind closed doors, and you must have the classification, issued for you to go behind. So for people to be thinking that the United States is doing something wrong, yes, if you don't know, that's the way you're thinking, and you're going to blame it on Trump. But if you look at it, they had treaties where, one, they decided to give back the Panama Canal. They gave it back. They were the one responsible for the oil infrastructure in Venezuela. They left. They had a base in Trinidad. They left. They had a base in Puerto Rico. They left. They had one in Antigua. They left, and others. But what happened after they left, the Chinese and Russians started moving in piece by piece, and then when they said they're carrying sugar, they're carrying guns and all of those different things too. But Trump, unlike the other presidents, he decided, no, I'm going to use power to show you that I can still handle the area. I'm not going to let you all come in to take it out, and then all of a sudden, then I have nowhere to go. So that is actually what is really going on down there. And it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Look at the up over there now. China is getting on Iran because they want to block off the canal, because it's going to affect them. So when these people see that things is going to affect them, they're going to use the power and stand up to these things. And the Caribbean islands don't have anything to go up against the United States. What they need to do is listen to the woman from Trinidad, and she says it over and over. They don't know what I know. And she always repeating it. So that means Guyana and her, Trinidad, they are accepted by the tables because they are willing to give them more than they will give the others. And that is what's going on, my brother.
But it's perhaps a question of trust, isn't that?
Well, it's not really trust. If you want to say trust, yes, trust. But to trust them, they must be able to obtain a secret clearance or whatever it is. That's where it comes in, and that is who the United States trusts.
Well, you're not gonna share intelligence with a country you don't trust.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, right. And these guys don't have it.
Right.
These guys don't have it.
Okay.
So they don't know what's going on. They dress up and they do the photo ops and all these different things like it's some big thing. Everything is in the open for what they are doing. What really is going on behind in the rooms, they don't know about it. They don't know. Look at it. They went on the ship down there. Okay, you get the photo ops. That's the normal route that anybody will get in on a ship when they're going to visit. That's not combat system and the bunkers for the ammunition all in place that they ain't gonna see. They just give them a tour, a little tour on the bridge and so forth. But to them it's photo ops and everybody seeing them and they think it's a big thing. It's not a big thing.
Okay.
My brother, take care, man.
Thanks for the education, my dear brother.
Yeah.
Well said. Well accepted. And this email reads no doubt in response to your contribution. I've lost that email. The caller is right. They don't have clearance because these leaders cannot be trusted. These Caribbean leaders were all friends of Maduro. That's why they were not invited to join Shield of Americas, reads this email. And perhaps, my Straight Talk family, just perhaps, with that call, is a nice way to end the program tonight. Because we spoke about CARICOM, and in particular, its current chairman is promoting closer ties with Africa. And that's not inherently that misguided. It's not misguided. In fact, I will submit that engagement with the continent offers several advantages. CARICOM states have strong historical and cultural connections with Africa, and institutions such as the African Union, provide opportunities for trade diversification, cultural and educational exchange, diplomatic cooperation in international fora, support on global issues such as reparations and climate justice. And countries like Ghana have actively sought deeper ties with Caribbean nations based on shared history and diaspora connections. However, and here's the question, can Africa realistically provide the security umbrella, the investment scale, or geographic proximity that the United States does for Caribbean economies? And that's a fair question. We criticize America, but where do our tourists come from? And I'm speaking now for St. Kitts and Nevis. And you have a right to criticize whom you want to criticize. You have a right to support who you want to support. But the reality is, where do our tourists come from? The majority of our tourists. Not from Europe. They come from the United States of America. Where do our flights come from? We boast daily flights with American Airlines. We now have JetBlue, Delta, and the list goes on. And hundreds of thousands of cruise ship passengers. Where do they come from? That's the question we must ask ourselves. Yes, we can import food from Africa, but look at the proximity between the US and St. Kitts and Nevis. All these importers can buy just in time, so they don't have to keep this inventory high. You can import your containers weekly, and that's what happens. So you get more cash flow because Tropical, CGM, Midnight Coast, they bring food from the US on a weekly basis. But Kamala warned us that we all have different paths or pathways to walk. But our destination, she said, is the same. Do you agree?
We all have different pathways to walk, but our destination, our goal, our aim is the same. is for a better quality of life for the people in our country and for the whole of the region.
And my Straight Talk family, as a people of the Caribbean, today we stand at a critical juncture in our regional history. We have always believed that our collective strength lies in unity, that the Caribbean community, CARICOM, should act as one voice, one shield, defending the interests of all of our people. Yet today, we are confronted with a stark reality. In a major security initiative known as the Shield of the Americas, and the majority of CARICOM nations were excluded. And even more troubling is that our own CARICOM chairman, Terence Michael Joe, was physically absent from the discussions that shaped the future of our region. While critical security matters unfolded at Doral in Florida, Terence Michael Drew went back home to Africa to visit his family and to plant a tree. Tree planting. And this is noble in principle. But we must ask ourselves, is this the moment for symbolic gestures when tangible security threats and international exclusions demand our immediate attention? My Straight Talk family, Terence Michael Drew hosted the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, at CARICOM 50. And yes, it was about the photo ops. Yes, they were the photo ops, my Straight Talk family. There you see next to Rubio, to the left of Rubio. But many have concluded that Rubio did not invite the CARICOM chairman because it has to be a question of trust or lack thereof, lack of trust. And I reminded you, my Straight Talk family, of some 13 years ago. I reminded you of this.
During its meeting on Monday, the 7th of January 2013, ministers, having duly considered the content of a memorandum dated January 4th, 2013, approved the appointment of Mr. Ali Zia Mohadam, a national of Iran who had formerly acquired citizenship of St. Kitts and Nevis through the investment program. Mr. Mohadam was issued with a diplomatic passport. He, on his travels to Canada, presented such passport to the authorities there. The authorities sought to confirm his role, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed to Canada the details of Mr. Mohadam's appointment and the specifics of his remit.
My Straight Talk family, the question is, how could the U.S., my Straight Talk family, how could the U.S. trust us? A country that has sold thousands of passports to Chinese, to Russians and Iranians. How could the U.S. trust us? A country whose government facilitates criminals, Iranians in particular, to hide accounts or wash money, launder money, as we say, through its offshore banking system. My Straight Talk family, the current member elected to lead the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Daily Mail revealed that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son, laundered money through St. Kitts and Nevis. My Street Dog family. Look at another Iranian who has laundered money, an Iranian tycoon, Ali Ansar, under sanctions in the UK. And that's coming from the Financial Times, my Street Dog family. So we asked the question tonight, and I'll ask it before I depart. Is the NIA compromised, Mark Brantley? That question is to you. What is the level of due diligence applied in Nevis? My Street Dog family, Terence Michael Drew was obviously not invited because the Americans know something or some things that we surely do not know. But what we know that after all was said and done, the picture ups and niceties meant absolutely nothing. We occupy ourselves by focusing on the messenger and not on the message. We say all sorts of things about the president. It's not about the president. We hold no brief for the president. He can take care of himself. I'm sure about that. But it's about the reality. And the reality is, my Street Dog family, this.
We are not going to cede an inch of territory in this hemisphere to our enemies or our adversaries. Our national security, our homeland security, the safety and well-being of our people begins at home, begins in our neighborhood, begins in our home region. And for too long, we have allowed foreign enemies, foreign adversaries, and enemy terrorist organizations to control territory and spaces in this hemisphere where they can project power, project threats, and directly threaten the lives of your citizens and our citizens. And so under the leadership of President Trump, we are using hard power, military power, lethal force to protect and defend the American homeland.
That's the reality. The former Prime Minister of the Netherlands and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte had high praise for the president.
My relationship with the president, hey, listen, if somebody is doing good stuff, and President Trump is doing a lot of good stuff, I believe. I know I'm irritating a lot of you again, but I think so. Because, as I said also in Davos, the 2% reached by all NATO countries now at the end of 2025 would never, ever, ever have happened without Trump. Do you really think that Spain and Italy and Belgium and Canada would have decided to move from 1.5 to 2%? Italy spending 10 billion more now on defense at the beginning of the year without President Trump? No way, it would not have happened. And do you really think that in The Hague we would have come to the 5% commitment without President Trump? No way. So when President Trump is doing good stuff, I will praise him. And I don't mind him publishing text messages. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. We can't. We need each other. And why do we need each other? I tell you. First of all, because also the US needs NATO. For the US to stay safe, and by the way, Arctic region is evidence here, they need a secure Arctic, they need a secure Euro-Atlantic, and they also need a secure Europe. So the US has every interest in NATO as much as Canada and the European NATO allies. But for Europe, if you really want to go it alone, and those of you who are planning for that, forget that you can ever get there with 5%. It will be 10%. You have to build up your own nuclear capability. That costs billions and billions of euros. You will lose then, in that scenario, you would lose the ultimate guarantor of our freedom, which is the US nuclear umbrella. Good luck.
Just like the Western Hemisphere, the European Union cannot defend itself without the US. The US nuclear umbrella is critical for the security of NATO, as it is the ultimate guarantor of Europe's freedom. The US also needs NATO to stay safe, as the NATO Secretary General spoke to the Arctic region. But my friends, in closing, History teaches us that small states survive, not by ignoring power, but by understanding it. The Caribbean community, CARICOM, cannot afford strategic confusion at a time when the Western Hemisphere is redefining its political and security architecture. We must ask ourselves difficult questions. What is the role of CARICOM in this evolving hemispheric order? Can neutrality remain credible when major powers demand clarity? And most importantly, will the Caribbean shape its own future, or will others shape it for us? The principle of being friends of all and satellites of none is noble, but principles must also be matched by strategy. If Caribbean or CARICOM remains silent while the hemisphere reorganizes itself, we risk becoming spectators in decisions that directly affect our security, our economies, and our sovereignty. My Stray Dog family, the Caribbean must find its voice. The U.S. has allies, and it has friends and allies.
Thank you for making this region a priority. We've had successive American presidents say that the Western Hemisphere is going to be a priority, and they never do it. And the president has made it a personal priority. He's also a president of action. It's why I believe he will go down as the most historic figure, one of the most historic figures in American history, and certainly of the last 100 years, because of what he has been able to do and is doing right now with the Western Hemisphere. Thank you for your bold leadership. It's an honor to be able to serve in your administration. And Mr. President, 2 points I want to make. The first is, we have a lot of allies around the world, and we are grateful for our allies. And the countries represented here today, all 12 of the leaders here, are allies. But they're more than allies. They're friends. At a time when we have learned that oftentimes an ally, when you need them, maybe may not be there for you, these are countries that have been there for us, and these are leaders that are not just allies, they are friends. And they are always willing to work and cooperate with the United States, and we're grateful to them.
We have allies who are friends. The Caribbean, in closing, must find its voice. CARICOM must speak clearly, act strategically, and engage seriously with the geopolitical realities of our time. Because the future of this region will not be determined by silence. It will be determined, beg your pardon, by leadership. So now we understand why the U.S. established a shield of the Americas, and the majority of CARICOM leaders were excluded. And that's my story tonight, my Stray Dog family, and I am not going to change it. I must thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, as always. I must thank you, the many listeners, the viewers, those who send emails, and those who call. Remember, you're the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I can't forget my quotation tonight. My Straight Talk family, this world of ours must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate, and be instead a proud confederation of mutual trust and respect. And my Straight Dog family, until we connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. Remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. I don't know if I said that all who called, all who sent emails, all who just viewed, you are the ones who make Straight Talk. And I say a big, big thank you. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And until we connect on Thursday, keep moving on. Bye-bye, my Straight Talk family.
morning light.